In this video, we're going to discuss difference of squares. So this is a special type of factoring that is a lot easier because it's a special case. So the first thing we're going to do is review multiplying binomials when you have a very similar setup. The thing to notice here is that we have x plus 3 and then we have x minus 3. So that makes something very special happen. So when we double distribute these, we're going to have x times x minus 3 and then 3 times x minus 3. So we're going to have x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9. So right here, x times negative 3 is negative 3x, and 3 times x is positive 3x. Then, whoops, I'll just keep making it worse. Then 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So don't lose that negative. So after we do that, you can see right here that our middle, our x's, actually cancel each other out. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So that zeroes out, and we're left with an answer of x squared minus 9. Okay? So that makes that really nice and special. So technically, this is still a trinomial. It's in a trinomial where we have a squared plus b squared plus c, and the b is 0. So we just have a x squared plus b, and in this case it's c, and in this case it's minus. So let's do this second one. So we're going to have 6n times 6n minus 2, and then 2 times 6n minus 2. So you have 36n squared, and then you have minus 12n, and then you have plus 12n, and then you have minus 4. So the same thing happens. In the middle, those are going to zero out and leave you with just the answer of 36n squared minus 4. All right, let's do this last one. So this last one, obviously the first one is the easiest version because you don't have an a in front of the x. And then the second one, you have a 6, so you have that coefficient within. And this last one, we have 2 variables. But we are going to treat it the same. So we will have xy times xy minus 7, and then 7 times xy minus 7. So remember, back to exponent rules, x times x is x squared, and y times y is y squared. And then xy times negative 7 is negative 7xy. And then we have 7 times xy, which is plus 7xy. And then 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. Notice again in the middle, we have a minus 7 and a plus 7, so that makes a 0. And so then for our answer, we have x squared, y squared minus 49. Now, doing this particular work that we're going to do today is easier if you know some perfect squares. So you might want to spend some time thinking about that 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 6 is 36, 7 times 7 is 49, 8 times 8 is 64, 9 times 9 is 81, 10 times 10 is 100. So we probably won't have any bigger than that. Let me look down through here. No, it looks like that's probably all we're going to have is up to 100. But these numbers should definitely make you realize, oh, I have a perfect square. So these numbers right here, these 10 numbers are perfect squares. And so that's going to help you a lot as we go through this. One thing that I don't like about this, and I'm not going to really be able to change it and it make it look nice, but this should not be a B. This should be a C. So it should be A squared minus C squared. So that's if you have a difference of squares, that's what you have. And technically you also have an X in there. So when you have AX squared minus C squared, then your answer is AX plus C and AX minus C. So that is our rule for that. Again, not crazy about how that's written, because remember, when we have a trinomial, we technically have AX squared plus BX plus C that I've already talked about. And so we are actually leaving out the middle. The middle part, the B part, is the part that's getting left out, not the C. Okay? Because you can see that right here, that this C is the perfect square from 7 and 7. So definitely not crazy about that. All right. I am going to just start doing some of these. Let me see if there's an easier side. Not really. All of these are pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to do them. The first thing you need to look for is make sure that you have a difference of squares. So this is squared and this is a square. If you have, and that there's a minus. So if I were to have x squared, don't write this, x squared plus 4, that will not work. That doesn't work because, as you noticed in all of these up here when we multiplied, you had to get a minus. And so if you don't have a minus, you don't have a difference of squares, and what we're about to do will not work. So I'm actually going to leave this on here so that you maybe will remember that. All right, so all you do, there isn't a big complicated thing to do. All you do when you look at this, whoops, I forgot to change the color. Oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time. All you do when you look at this is you look at, okay, x squared means that we have an x here and an x here. 4 means we have a 2 and a 2. 1 is a plus, 1 is a minus. You're done. That's literally all you do. Okay, if we have one like 3, where a is a number greater than 1, so the x part, the x squared part, has a coefficient. In this case, it's b squared, has a coefficient. Then you have to do the same thing with that number. So I always just draw 2 sets of parentheses. I know that's how it's going to end up. And then I look at this first number. So that would be 4 and 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Then I have b and b, because b times b is b squared. Then I look at the second number. I'm going to have 8 and 8, because 8 times 8 is 64. 1 is plus, 1 is minus. I'm done. That's all you have to do. If you feel like you have a difference of square, but you can't remember these guys that we talked about, then you can do this in your calculator. So let me pull my calculator up real quick and show you. That is not what I wanted to do. So you can do the square root. So you're going to do second and then x squared. Notice that there's right here, there is a little square root symbol. So square root is the opposite of squaring. And so then I could put 16 in here and it would give me 4. And so then I would know that I needed a 4 in front of both of those b's. Same thing with 64. Now don't put the negative in, just put the number in. And so that's going to be 8. So I know I'm going to have an 8 and an 8. And then I take care of the sign by doing the plus and the minus, because a plus 8 and a minus 8 is going to equal negative 64. In a few weeks, we will talk about square roots a little bit more. And so until then, just trust me, just use the number, don't use the sign. All right, so I'm going to try to get this off of here. It always is such a pain. And let me erase this from where I was doing that. All right, last one here that we'll do on this side. We're going to go ahead and give me 2 parentheses. Then to make r squared, we're going to have an r and an r. To make 25, we're going to have a 5 and a 5. To make s squared, we're going to have an s and an s. Then we're going to have a plus and a minus. So you are literally just breaking this into its parts. If we multiply this back together, I'll do this really quickly. And I do not expect you to do this. This is just to show you that we would end up back at what we started with if you checked your work. And then you can see right here that we've got a minus 5RS and a plus 5RS. So this would zero out and we would just have r squared minus 25s squared. So it does give you the right answer. Okay, next page. These are some that are a little bit trickier. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do all of these because they are trickier. So if you have a 1, the perfect square of 1 is 1. Think about 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, then the square root of 64 is 8. So we're going to have an 8 and an 8. M and an M, plus and a minus. Okay, so the 1 sometimes gets people, but it's just 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, I'm actually not going to do number 8 because it's very similar to 7 and it's just got a square. But then notice that 9 and 10 have bigger exponents. So if you have an exponent greater than 2, then you're going to divide it by 2. So for this one, we would do it this way and still have a plus and a minus. So think about that y to the third times y to the third. You add the exponents to get y to the 6th. So you divide them in half, the exponent, like you split it. 3 of them go here, 3 of them go there. Okay, so you do have to treat exponents a little bit differently than you do the coefficient numbers. All right, so think about what that would mean for h. Half of 8 is 4. The other half of 8 is 4. So you're going to split that exponent from 8 into 4 and 4. Then 16. Now don't divide 16 by 2. You're not going to have 8 and 8 again. You have to do the square root of 16, which is 4. Then you're going to have k squared and 4k squared in the other one, a plus and a minus. All right, that's all for this video. I'm not 100% sure we're going to do these last 4, but if so, I will add a third video, or a second video, not a third one, for that.